Hello, I'm Adam Saya, and I'm going to be presenting my project on the efficacy of the clean pull exercise on jump performance versus traditional power exercises. So a little introduction here. Strength and conditioning practitioners look at the research to provide practical recommendations to improve athletic performance. This includes program design, exercise prescription, what intensity, how many sets, how many reps. All of this is combined provides us with sound evidence for program design. So while traditional strength training has been thoroughly investigated, there's gaps in the literature on power training. Power training research is frequently debated and research is sought out due to its proven effects on improving athlete performance. Now the power clean is what we're going to be investigating in this study, and we're going to use a training protocol over 6 weeks. Now the power clean is a variation of the clean, and the clean is an exercise performed at the Olympics under the sport of weightlifting. Now, power clean has proven efficacy in improving athletic performance in certain measures such as sprinting, jumping, horizontal jumping, vertical jumping. However, there's several problems with the power clean exercise. Now, some of these problems are it has a high technical demand for skill. So it takes a very long time to coach, it takes a very long time to perfect and get good with proper technique. As we know, proper technique is required for safety reasons, and safety is a big aspect for strength and conditioning, especially the coaches. You can't have your hurt athletes. The biggest mechanism for the power clean for improved performance is usually attributed to the triple extension. Now, triple extension is the complete extension of the hips, knees, and ankles at the same time. And this research indicates that because this mimics a lot of sport activities, that this is the reason why the power clean is so effective. So if a variation of the power clean exists, can it improve performance just as well as the power clean? The power clean is a very technical movement, and it has different phases. So if a variation exists that allows for heavier loads, would it provide even better benefits than the power clean? This would mean more force production, potentially. Now the clean pull is the variation we're going to use in this training study. The clean pull is a very easy movement to teach, and it still incorporates triple extension. Now, the clean pull can also be safely performed at a much heavier weight, which may be potentially beneficial for more power production. That's a very important aspect of this study. So the clean pull has been looked at before, but not with super maximal weights, which can be performed. It's a very similar movement as the power clean. The significance of the problem. Now, training studies provide evidence for sound strength and conditioning programs. So this is going to contribute to the research body for power training, power exercises for sports. Now the power clean may lead to injury due to its technical nature and mobility requirement. As you see on the picture on the right, this is very common in high school and collegiate athletics. Especially in high school, there's a high rate of injury in these power clean movements due to pressure, peer pressure from trying to impress coaches and fellow athletes, as seen in the picture here. It's a growing problem with this exercise because a lot of people want to use it because it is efficacious for increasing athletic performance, especially when all these demands on athletes to get into the pro level or collegiate sports for scholarships. Now, the power clean is implemented in most strength and conditioning programs. It is a very well accepted exercise, especially due to its proven efficacy. However, it's awfully poorly prescribed. The purpose of this study is going to be to investigate and provide practical recommendations for strength and conditioning program design. We will be investigating if clean pulls can provide an equal or better stimulus as power cleans. Now, to investigate, we also want to investigate if clean pulls performed at a super maximal weight can provide even stronger training stimulus and be more efficacious recommended for power training. Now, if we see the picture on the right here, this is the clean pull exercise. It's exactly the same. It's performed exactly the same as a power clean. However, the lift is terminated once triple extension is performed. Because of this, because the athlete does not need to pull underneath the bar, they can perform a lot more weight, which adds a lot more force to the power formula. So the hypothesis, the null hypothesis we're going to be looking at is the clean pull will not significantly improve vertical jump performance compared to a power clean. The alternative hypothesis is we believe that the clean pull will significantly improve vertical jump performance compared to the power clean. And a part of that, we believe, we speculate, is you can do much more weight with a clean pull. So the definitions of power clean. The power clean is defined by bringing the bar from the floor to the shoulders as explosively as possible. The barbell needs to start on the floor, and it needs to be loaded with at least 10-pound or 10 kilopound plates, the standard measurement from the floor. Now, by definition, a power clean is caught with the hips above the knee joint. A clean, by definition, according to the sport of Olympic weightlifting, would be caught in a squat position with the hips below the knee. Now, the power clean is the most commonly used variation in sports, which is why we are investigating specifically the power clean and not a squat version of the clean, which is most commonly seen in the sport of weightlifting. So if during the training protocol a clean is caught below the 90-degree angles, it will not count and the rep will be terminated. Now, by definition, we need to perform a triple extension. So a triple extension will be a full extension of the hips, knees, and ankles before they receive the barbell, before they pull underneath the barbell. Now the clean pull is the same exact execution as the power clean, except the lift is terminated once triple extension is achieved, followed by a powerful shrug. So that's the only difference. The only difference is the clean pull and the clean is the clean pull does not involve a squat after you extend. Now, the one group is going to be using super maximal clean pulls. So they'll be doing clean pulls executed at a weight at 100%, near around 100% of their power clean 1 rep max, which is going to provide, which can potentially provide for a lot more volume. The back squat will also be implemented in the training program for the protocol, and this is a traditional strength training exercise. The barbell will be placed on the upper back muscles. The downward phase of the movement will be complete once the hips go below the knee joints, breaking the 90-degree angle made by the upper and lower leg. Now, the reason the back squat is still being implemented is because most research studies show that mixed speeds provide for a sound power training program. So the back squat will provide us with our low speed, high force exercise, and the power clean variations will provide us with our low force, high speed exercises, so the opposite, which is validated by most research training studies looking at the best way to create a sound power program. Some of our limitations of the study and delimitations: there will be little to no dietary control or restrictions, since we're not really looking at body composition. This may impact performance if the subject significantly changes diet. Limiting exercises too outside of training will be a big part of when we explain to the subjects what they can and cannot do. If they need to do, we're using athletes, so if they need to train for practice, that's okay, but no other exercises beyond that. Some of the limitations of our study is some of the limitations of the study is it's only 6 weeks long, so because of that, we might not be able to see significant changes in enough time. And there we go. I'm going to change this slide here. So now we're going to begin to look at the literature review. So, power training and athletics. There's many studies done that shows power training has a positive impact on athletic performance, even though it's not the exact specific movements. Now, a study by Cronin and colleagues has concluded that the ability to develop significant levels of power can contribute to high performance in common sport skills. Also, an investigation by Wilson has demonstrated that athletes who train at loads that maximize mechanical power achieve the greatest enhancements in dynamic athletic performance. Now, how heavy of a load? This is going to be a big investigation for the study. A meta-analysis by Soriano and colleagues investigated optimal loading for power exercises, and they've concluded around roughly 70% is optimal. And we'll talk a little bit more about that study in a bit. Now, what about the vertical jump? We decided to use vertical jump performance as our means if which variation provided the best results. So why the vertical jump? Well, most sports depend on jumping and sprinting ability for elite performance. Almost every sport across the board has these requirements. Now, numerous studies have demonstrated that training programs implementing Olympic weightlifting exercises, such as the power clean, have increased vertical jump performance by 2.8 to 9.5%. Now, in the elite level, this could be a huge difference in winning or losing a game. 2.8 to 9.5% is a massive increase for an elite level athlete. Now, the proposed explanation for this transfer of performance is based off the idea that increased force demands are placed on the system while executing a very similar movement pattern. So what does that tell us? That tells us more about the principle of specificity. The principle of specificity indicates that training in a specific manner will lead to specific outcomes. So what about the power cleans? Well, the power cleans are often regarded as a jump movement, hence why it improves vertical jump. However, a study showed by McKenzie concluded that the power clean is not kinematically similar to the vertical jump, especially compared to other exercises such as a barbell loaded jump squat. So why would you not do a jump squat compared to a power clean? Well, this study shows that there might be performance enhancing effects from the power clean that aren't exactly due to the fact that it's exactly like a jump, because power clean, as proven by McKenzie, is not exactly a jump movement. So what about volume? Well, our program is also going to control for volume. All the variations, the three variations we're looking at, power clean, clean pull, and super maximal clean pull, is going to have equated volume. Now, certain studies, for example, some here done at Florida Atlantic University, have showed that when volume is equated, muscular hypertrophy, so muscle size, and strength between groups, either high intensity or low intensity, when volume's equated, results are very, very similar. But what about power? So this hasn't really been investigated with power. Now we're looking at power with different loads, so this will also give us some novel findings as well. So a main analysis by Soriano and his colleagues that I mentioned earlier concluded that exercise-specific optimal loads for peak power production actually exist. Now, lighter training loads for the jump squats makes sense because the movement is very heavy, but you need to move very quickly. So lighter loads are for the jump squat, you're going to want to use lighter loads, roughly 30% of your 1 rep max. For the back squat, roughly 30 to 70%. And for power cleans and hang cleans, which we are investigating, you're going to need to use heavier loads, 70%. Now, power cleans are very difficult exercises, so how heavy can you really go until you might have a decrease in power, or is maybe 100% of your 1 rep max done as a clean pull might have an even greater effect than 70% of your power clean. So Oliveira and his colleagues concluded that heavier loads used in explosive exercises may produce adaptations in both early and late phases due to higher loads and longer contraction time through further stimulus of adaptations in neural drive and peripheral muscle properties. So this is well beyond just the fact that a power clean looks similar to a jump, because that's not really the case. So our participants for this study, we're going to use 40 males, age range between 18 and 26, and they're all going to be athletes of Florida Atlantic University. They will all have a minimum of 2 years of resistance training experience and a minimum of 1 year experience performing specifically the power clean and squat. So if they haven't been using that movement for at least a year, they can't perform the study because there might be a huge adaptation to a new exercise in their program. Now, all subjects voluntarily signed an informed consent, and the study received approval from the Institutional Review Board at Florida Atlantic University. Some exclusion and inclusion criteria: they have to be at least 1 month into the off-season training. Since we're using varied athletes, we don't want to use athletes that some might be in the off-season, some might be in the on-season, which typically athletes have different training programs for different seasons. Now, they can't be consuming ergogenic aids such as creatine or use of caffeine before training. They must be absent of injury or diagnosed illness and receive clearance by the athletic trainer. And they must be able to perform power clean 1 rep max with at least 1 times body weight and perform a proper back squat with at least 1.25 times body weight. Now, procedures, we're going to use a 6-week training protocol, and there's going to be 3 training sessions per week, 1 to 2 hours long. We're going to have a pre-test and a post-test, which includes body weight measurements, vertical jump test using the Vertec, 1 rep max power clean, 1 rep max back squat. Now, the protocol for the vertical jump test will be, we'll start with a dynamic warm-up, and then we'll allow for 5 attempts using 30 to 90-second rest between attempts. Vertical jump tests are not too taxing, so they can get away with a shorter rest. Protocol for the power clean, we'll wait 5 minutes after the Vertec, and then we'll warm up between 30 to 90%, and then we'll give the subject 3 attempts of 1 rep max with 5-minute rest between attempts. And the back squat protocol will be the same. Training protocol, we're going to assign subjects to either power clean, clean pull, super maximal clean pull, or control groups. The way we're going to count for statistical significance, we'll talk about that in a bit, but the way to control that between different athletes and different groups, we'll be using the mean Wilks score, which accounts for body weight and the amount of weight they can move. Now, they'll be performing 3 times per week, and they'll be utilizing a daily undulated periodization model, DUP, which undulates reps throughout the week. All groups, however, will have the same squat prescription to account for movement that's not different between the groups, and volume will be equated. This is a sample of the week of the 3 different groups, not including the control group. And if you do the math, the volume is equated. So each week there'll be progressions made. The power exercise training group will add 2.5% of 1 rep max to maintain training intensity within the intensities that are prescribed by literature, keeping it above 70%. And the progressions for the back squat will be determined by a plus set on the 3rd day of the week. Well, the 3rd training session, I have to say. Our outcome measures, as we talked about earlier, vertical jump, 1 rep max power clean, 1 rep max back squat, and body weight to see if there's any changes with their diet. They might have to drop the subject. Instrumentation, we'll be using barbells, plates, and collars, and it will all be equipment that's validated and approved by the International Weightlifting Federation, which is the governing body for the sport of weightlifting. We will be using the Vertec, which is validated in the gold standards for vertical jump testing. And we will be using a health history questionnaire in the beginning of the study. Statistical techniques, we will be using a one-way repeated measures analysis variance, ANOVAs. So we'll be using that to test for significance between the groups, to look for any significant changes, which will be set at a p-value of less than 5. We will also be using the effect size to determine if there's any relationships that exist between the vertical jump performance and the clean variations, and also between the vertical jump performance and the back squat 1 rep max. And we will be doing that relative to the total of the lifts, relative to the Wilks score. And all tests will be analyzed using the SPSS software. And here's our references.